doing? This is how I make sure I'm in focus. I get the focus on this thing first. Let's see. Here we are. Going live on Facebook. How are we doing? Let's see if Facebook is in fact working. It appears to be like glitching a little bit, but let's just take a peek. Let's take a peek. I have to make sure the audio is working. I'm a one-man band here, so I go live and then I go look at my live stream and let's see. Let's see. Do I have any sound? Stream. I do. And let's see. All right. So we got sound. That's great. Now this thing here is how I get the focus. My camera has a manual focus, none of that autofocus webcam stuff. It's a real cinema camera, and I'm recording video on it for editing later. And so I focus on the text on this piece of paper here, and then that's where I stand. But give me 10 seconds. Make sure it's recording, because again, one-man band and such. I'm going to be talking today about how to pitch your book to agents and publishers. All right, but how are you guys doing? How is everybody doing? So bear with me one sec while what I do is get this up on Patreon as well. I go live on Patreon for free. I have a free version of my Patreon. For those who don't know, Patreon is a way that people can support my work. It's also the way that right now, exclusive way that they can read my novel and see some of my short films, which are not available anywhere else. It's a monthly crowdfunding platform, basically, that allows people to get exclusive access to certain content. But it's also got a free element, and so I post plenty of things on there for free, and you can go follow me on Patreon free of charge. Live now, how to pitch your book. Hello, all. All right. Well, let's go back. I have got to put it in the live stream collection on Patreon. Patreon has a system where you can make collections of posts, so it makes it very easy for people to see the different types of posts I put up there. You know, I put my writing, I put my short films, I put these live streams, and so collections is a great way to keep it all organized. So people who are more interested in like reading the writing, they know exactly where to go. Okay. So, how we doing Facebook? We are also live on YouTube, Patreon, LinkedIn, Twitter, and we're about to go live on Instagram. Because why not? Why not go live all the places? So let me open it up on Instagram real quick. Hello, Instagram. All right. This placeholder can officially move now. And let me know if you guys have any questions at any time, and we will get this started. So, first off, Happy New Year's to all of you guys. Happy New Year's, happy holidays. Hope you guys had a great Christmas or whatever you celebrate. Our Christmas tree is still up, but that's not saying much since we have it up all year long. It's called the all-season tree in our house, and it gets decorated for each holiday. We had a Halloween tree, Thanksgiving tree, we got the spring tree. Sometimes we just decorate it for the season if there's no particular holiday. So, Um, Thank you to the Minnesota State Arts Board and the National Endowment for the Arts for supporting this live stream and supporting this educational material. How to pitch your book to agents, publishers, um, acquisitions editors, people who buy books, book ideas, people who publish books. What's up, Jen? Hope you guys are doing well in down under. Good eye, mate. Are you guys in Australia or New Zealand or one of those two? New South Wales? You guys are just globe trotting all over the place. Inspirational is what it is. Perfect Instagram globe trotting couple. Makes me jealous. Okay, so moving on. What are my qualifications to be talking about this? I want to make sure my mission is to learn things about how to be an independent storyteller and then share that stuff with you guys. I want to help you on your journey. I want to make the videos that I wish were there for me on my learning journey that could have made things faster. I go down rabbit holes, I learn things, and I come back and I share what I've learned with you because I want to empower you guys. I want to see the stories that you want to create. I want to read the books that you want to write. Your inspiration and your creativity inspires me and motivates me to keep going. Excuse me. So I want to make it easier for you guys to share your creativity. So my qualifications in this subject. I am a National Endowment for the Arts grant winning author. I'm working on a series of horror novels. You can see I'm wearing my outfits from named after my first novel, Northport 1999. My first novel, by the way, is up for an award at the Catalyst Content Festival, the world's largest TV festival. And the same is true for the season one TV show pitch that I wrote based on the novel and the pilot episode screenplay that I wrote adapted from the novel. Um, and I'm here to say that if I can do this stuff, so can you guys. And I'm going to give you the steps on how to do pitching your book. I have pitched my novels multiple times, including at a really fascinating pitching festival called Pitcherama, which I will tell you about in detail. As a result of pitching my stuff, my novels, I am now working with an independent publishing company on my series of novels, and they're going to be publishing them. Right now, they're exclusively available on patreon.com/Bodhi the Movie Maker. That's how you can read them and support my work. But I'm going to be publishing them through this independent publishing company, and that all came about through this pitching technique information that I'm going to be sharing with you. So that's me. That's why I'm talking about this. So first things first. Does a book need to be complete to begin pitching? Answer: no, not really. In fact, traditional publishing through a conventional publisher pretty much necessitates that your book is going to be changing. Your manuscript is going to be adjusted along the way before it actually reaches publication. But that doesn't mean that you don't want to have a complete draft of your book. You want a complete draft of your book that is professionally edited before you start sending out your manuscript to the people you might be pitching to. Let's define the different types of people you might want to be pitching to. We've got literary agents, publishers, and then the people who sort of buy books for publishing companies, the editors. Um, how do we find the people to pitch to send our query letters to? And I'll be getting into defining what a query letter is in a second here. The main answer is researching books that are similar to the one you're writing. Find authors who've written books like the one you're working on, and then look through their book on the copyright page, in the back matter, the special thanks, the back cover, and look at the publishing company. And you could possibly find their literary agent in the special thanks. Um, and then, pro tip, use that personal connection information to reach out to them and say, hey, I really liked your work on this book, insert title here. Um, because you worked on that book, I think you might be interested in mine. So, jumping ahead a little bit here, but this is relevant. When you reach out to people via email, agents, publishers, it's great to say, you came highly recommended. I did my research and you seem like the perfect person to be talking to. I've heard specifically from my publisher friend, who's also an author, you might want to refrain from saying who recommended you to reach out to this person. Like, let's say you talk to your publisher friend and they give you a list of literary agents and other publishers to reach out to. Well, if you say my publisher friend so and so recommended that I reach out to you and send you my book, you might want to publish it. The first thing that person's thinking is, well, why did so and so pass on your book? Why did so and so not want to publish it? It doesn't. So name dropping is always, we think it's going to give us some more credibility, but why didn't that name that you just dropped want to work with you is sometimes the takeaway that happens there. So it's better to be vague and about who kind of introduced you to, recommended that you reach out to this specific publisher or literary agent, but instead say that you found them through your own research, researching books that you think are like yours, that apply to the same market that yours will, that attract to the same type of reader that yours will. So let's talk about query letters and book proposals. The difference between the two. Book proposals and query letters serve distinct purposes in the process of getting books published, particularly in the traditional publishing industry. Here are the key differences and similarities between the two. A query letter, the purpose, is to pique the interest of a literary agent or acquisition editor and entice them to request more materials, such as a sample chapter, a synopsis, or the full manuscript. The content of a query letter, it has a brief overview, providing a concise introduction to your work, including the title, genre, and word count. A hook or personalization, it often includes a hook element to capture the recipient's attention. Synopsis, a brief summary of the book is included, providing an overview of the main characters and the central conflict that drives your story. Then there's an author bio, a short bio, highlighting relevant credentials, achievements, or personal connections to the material. And then in closing, the letter will have polite expressions of appreciation and an offer to provide more materials and the author's contact information lastly. So that's a brief description of what you get in a query letter. And that, for us fiction writers, that's what we're going to be focusing on. But let's talk about a book proposal. The purpose of a book proposal is a comprehensive document designed to provide a detailed and thorough overview of a nonfiction book project, typically. And it usually is used for nonfiction work, especially in academic, self-help, or niche markets, cookbooks, stuff like that. The content. An introduction section that usually includes information about the author's background and qualifications to write the proposed book. An overview of the book, including its title, genre, target audience, and the problem or question the book addresses. It's got market analysis, essentially a discussion of the target market, including the audience and competing works, comparable works, to establish the book's commercial viability. Unique selling points, an exploration of the unique aspects that make the book stand out in the market. Then there's a table of contents that outlines the structure and contents of the book. Then we talk about the author platform, which actually I would argue you want to put this in your query letters as well nowadays. What is an author platform statement? It's basically information about the author's platform, including their online presence, social media following, and speaking engagements. Platform means what is your audience? How do you reach them? How do you sustain them? How's it growing? If you're a public speaker, then that's your main platform. If you're a social media influencer, then that's your main platform. I'm going to get back to that, but let's finish talking about book proposal components. The next one is comparable titles, a list and analysis of comparable titles in the market to demonstrate where the book fits within the existing landscape. Some people even use the language, you might find my book on the shelf in between, Barefoot Contessa and the Country Cook, if it's a cookbook. Manuscript status and timeline. Information on the current status of the manuscript and an estimated timeline for completion. Conclusion. A polite closing expressing gratitude and openness to provide additional materials and answer any questions. And of course, your contact information. So let's go back to the author platform. I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but one of the things that I took away from my early pitching experiences was that even in the fiction realm that I'm in, where the manuscript is supposed to sort of stand for itself, the merit of the writing is supposedly the most important thing. Really, when you're pitching and talking to publishers, it's revealed, and agents especially, it's revealed that they really care most about like your platform. What's your audience? What's the built-in audience that's going to buy this book? That's going to justify their investment. And yeah, it can be kind of jarring at first because a lot of people come in from the outside, imagine that a publisher, their purpose is to cultivate the audience for you. But nowadays, things have shifted where that's not necessarily always the case. And they want an easy bet, you know? They want a sure thing investment or as close to one as they can. So the more you can grow your platform, your audience, the way you engage with them, the better. Social media, YouTube, public speaking engagements. Um, you got to leverage those things and build those audience numbers because that speaks louder than the quality of your writing is sometimes the takeaway you can feel when you're pitching to agents and publishers because you'll give a really nice pitch with very artfully describing hitting all of those important points that we just read in the query letter, which are very similar to what you would do in a verbal pitch, or at least the ones that I've done. And then at the end, they're really interested in like talking about your platform. Anyways, so let's talk about the similarities between a book proposal and a query letter because they are different. They both should have a professional tone and they should be very polished. You don't want any typos in either of them since they're the document you're sending to the literary industry. Author's bio, they both often include a brief author's bio, contact information. In summary, both query letters and book proposals aim to capture the interest of agents or publishers. A query letter is shorter and more focused for introducing a fiction work to the reader and aiming to prompt a request for more materials. Usually, you don't send it with your full manuscript. In contrast, a book proposal is a detailed document primarily used for nonfiction works, providing comprehensive information to help publishers assess the potential of the project, which you could replace the word project with product. It's not a bad way of thinking about it. And that's the world of conventional publishing, query lettering, book proposaling is you're making a product and you're finding the market, and that's what they're buying into. So are book proposals for fiction a thing? Since we just um, I just said that book proposals are primarily for nonfiction works. While book proposals are more commonly associated with nonfiction works, they are generally not a standard requirement for fiction submissions in traditional publishing industry. Fiction manuscripts are typically submitted to a literary agent or publisher with a query letter and in some cases a specified number of sample chapters or the full manuscript. I'll be getting back to that in a bit. Fiction submissions are often evaluated based on the strength of the writing, the narrative, and the potential market appeal of the story, which can be heavily judged by like how many followers do you have? That is your first market. Um, Some agents or publishers may request additional information, such as a synopsis or an author bio, along with the query letter and sample chapters, which is common. Always follow the submission guidelines provided by the specific agent or publisher you are querying. So, when you find a publisher or an agent, someone recommends them to you, look them up, look up their website. They're always going to have their submission requirements listed on under their like reach out to me page or whatever, their submission page. And usually it's like I want the first 30 pages or I want the best chapter. Um, I want 2 chapters. They'll give you very specific requirements. And it's good to not just send out like an email blast and CC all of the, or blind CC all of the people you want to send it to and just send one generic one because they see that right away. And that can disqualify you if they can tell, or at least their secretary or the person who combs through their emails can tell you didn't follow their submission guidelines. You got to keep in mind, one of the things that a publisher told me is like the people who are reading your query letters are overworked, tired. They've been at this for a week already, reading maybe hundreds of these a day. They're looking for any reason to discount you. And so if you're not following their requirements listed on their website to the T, that's an easy way for them to just move on, make their life easier. So try to think about the fact that even though ideally you're talking to the publisher or an editor down the line, probably the first person to open and read your email and look at that first line and decide whether or not they're going to continue is like an overworked query letter reader. All right. So this is an important point to emphasize. There is no one-size-fits-all query letter or book proposal. Publishers and literary agents typically have submission guidelines that they expect authors to follow when submitting manuscripts or queries. These guidelines are essential for ensuring that submissions are organized and meet the expectations of the professionals reviewing them. Submission guidelines may vary among different agents and publishers, so it is crucial to carefully read and adhere to the specific instructions provided by each. Here are some common elements included in submission guidelines. Query letter requirements. Some agents and publishers request a query letter in the initial contact. This letter often includes a brief introduction, a concise overview of the book, and a short author bio. By the way, I'm going to have templates for the query letter, the book proposal, and I am even going to read my verbal pitch to you guys at the end here. So let's keep flying through here. Another thing in the requirements, manuscript format. Specific instructions regarding formatting, font size, spacing, and document type for electronic submissions or hard copies if applicable. Probably not anymore. sample chapters, or full manuscript. Clear guidelines on how many sample chapters should be included or whether they prefer to receive the entire manuscript. Also unlikely. Genre, and though it's usually, if they show interest after your first query letter, they'll ask for the entire manuscript. It's usually not requested in the very first correspondence. Genre and content preferences. Information about types of books or genres the agent or publisher is interested in and representing or publishing. They make that very clear. It's like in in their job title. Young adult agent. Or usually they say, like, I'm interested in young adult, or cookbooks, or women authors. I'm looking for BIPOC young adult sci-fi. Sometimes they drill way down. If they're not interested in your genre, don't send it to them. It's that simple. Um, they don't want it. They don't like it. You could send them an email saying, "Hey, do you know anybody who's interested? Here's my genre. If so, please forward this. I know you're not interested in that." You could. Um, can't get things if you don't ask for them. So, I'm not saying follow every single rule to the T. So they'll also give you guidelines about your author's bio sometimes. Response time. Typically, they'll let you know how long it's going to take to hear back from them. They'll give you a window. I've heard back from a publisher saying, you know, 6 months at least, and it did turn out to be 6 months. It's they're that's life. So, exclusive submissions. Some agents or publishers may request exclusive submission rights for a specific period, meaning that the author should not submit the same work to multiple agents and publishers simultaneously. Simultaneous submissions. Some information about whether simultaneous submissions are accepted or discouraged. So, only send me one book at a time. Submission platform, instructions on how and where to submit, whether through email or they might have an online submission form or by snail mail, perhaps. And then they'll let you know if there's any other specific material they need. So it's crucial to research the submission guidelines of each publisher or agent individually and to research them and who they are, their background, what kind of work they are interested in, what kind of work they've done, maybe what field they were in before they became a literary agent or whatever. It's great to know who you're talking to. Personalize it. So, okay, query letter template. I'm going to just briefly synopsize it, but I'm going to make a link available to this. I'm going to post it after this video, this live stream is done. I will post it I'll put a link in the comments on Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon. Wait, never mind. Yes, I will. That's what I'm going to do. So after this live stream is over, there will be a link to the free templates of the query letter, book proposal. Whew, good fun. Okay, so it starts off with your contact information. Then, of course, the name of the person you're sending it to, their publishing house or agency, and their address. Then it's very formal. Dear Mr., Ms., Mrs., last name. I hope this letter finds you well, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then paragraph 1, we got introduction. We already talked about that. Paragraph 2, synopsis. Paragraph 3, author bio. Paragraph 4, marketing and audience. What book is this like? Who might it appeal to as far as your audience research goes? You want to have extensive research into who your reader is. I've heard from a literary agent that they don't like it when an author sends them a query letter that says my book is like the Da Vinci Code or a book that sold. They want it to be like books that sold really well, but they kind of also don't want it to be like the the best in any genre. because they discount that as like the easiest possible choice you could have made to to say, oh, my book is in this genre, so it's like, and then you choose the most popular one. There's a few different reasons they don't like that. So you might want to get a little bit more nuanced and a little bit more modern with your research and really go look at bookstores and on Amazon and find something not the very top of the market, but something more reasonable. And I, I won't say that, I won't speak for all the literary agents out there, but one of the ones that I queried, I heard somebody else doing a verbal pitch to her, and she mentioned that, like saying your book is like something at the very top of the market, even if it's true, kind of scares them off for a few different reasons. Okay, chapter 5, there's a closing, expressing your appreciation and letting them know, hey, if you're interested, I can send you more. Thanks for your time. Sincerely, your full name and your signature if it's a physical letter. Okay, book proposal template. Same thing, we got your contact information, then we got your, you're formally addressing this letter out to the person you're reaching out to. Quick little like hello, then it's introduction about yourself, overview of your book, target audience, the unique selling points of your book, so what sets it apart from the others in your niche, table of contents about the different contents of your book. Then we're going to paragraph 6 talk about your author platform, paragraph 7 comparable titles or your competition. Paragraph 8, the status of your manuscript and the timeline to completion. Paragraph 9, the conclusion, which is again just thanking them for their time. And then you sign it sincerely, your name. Okay, so let's talk about a verbal pitch. Let's fly through the rest of this. We're nearly to the end. When we're talking about a verbal pitch, let's use the query letter as a frame of reference to define some of the key aspects of a verbal pitch. A verbal pitch and a query letter serve the same fundamental purpose: to introduce your book and persuade an agent or editor to show interest. However, they differ in format and delivery. And just like when you look up a literary agent or a publisher's website and they say, submit your book here, and then they tell you the specifics requirements, each different verbal pitching situation has different requirements. You might be pitching at some sort of a pitch competition or a pitch festival. In that case, they're going to have their guidelines spelled out, or they're going to leave them vague by choice. Usually they're going to have a time limit. And sometimes it's going to be a give and take. You pitch and then you hear feedback in real time and you converse. In that case, you want to keep your pitch as short as possible to save time in your allotted time slot for that feedback. And then sometimes you're just in an elevator and that's your pitch. Like you gotta use the moment you have. Carpe diem. Sometimes you meet somebody in a bar. You never know. The back of a horse carriage on a carriage ride. It's happened. True story. So verbal pitching is a great thing to practice, even just as an exercise. So because it gets you ready to, on the fly, if you do ever have that one, maybe once in a lifetime opportunity, you're in an elevator with a literary agent, or you're in a horse carriage, with a producer and writer from a Hollywood TV show. If you've practiced, you could be ready. And this is verbal pitching is a great way to get that going. So again, let's talk about some of the ways that verbal pitching differs from query letters and some of the ways that they are similar. Obviously, a query letter is written and a verbal pitch is spoken, which means you're physically presenting your book idea and delivering it in person, over the phone, or virtually, which is very common. such as during a pitch session at a writing conference or at the pitching competition at Catalyst Content Festival. So, because it's oral, it involves spoken communication, and it requires effective verbal communication skills, including tone, pace, and enthusiasm. And those can go a long way to keep their attention, which they're probably tired by the time they hear from you. So make it easier for them. Detail and depth. Query letters are able to be much more detailed depending on how long the query letter format you get to fill out, usually about a page. Verbal pitching, much more concise. So it necessitates focusing on the most compelling aspects of your story and who you are. Um, Flexibility, query letter, it's got a fixed amount of space. Verbal pitching can be dynamic. Things can change in the fly. Maybe you get a little bit more time. Maybe you get less, and you got to just immediately respond to that. Personal connection. Query lettering is indirect. You're not looking them in the eyes, and you're conveying your personality through your writing style, your choice of words, establishing a connection, you know, through your writing content, your writing voice, which is not the same immediate connection you get with the spoken verbal pitching, and you get to communicate your passion and the enthusiasm for your project through your vocal expression. While both verbal pitching and query lettering achieve the same goal of capturing the interest, hopefully, of a literary agent or editor, we get the ways that they differ. And so, in the same way that each publisher, editor, agent has different submission requirements for query letters, each verbal pitching situation will have different requirements. We got that. For example, though, here's a really cool pitching thing that I was able to do, have been doing for a few years now. Pitchorama, which is hosted by the WNBA SF chapter. No, not the basketball organization. The WNBA stands for the Women's National Book Association. And they place, remember, approximately 5 minutes. It might be three. Um, a 3 to 5 minute cap on each verbal pitch. So essentially, you get you get 5 authors in this like Zoom call, and then a publisher comes in, um, and one at a time you pitch to them. And so they recommend that you take up like less than half or only slightly more than half of your allotted time so that you can get their feedback. So you really got to hone your pitch. You got to time it. You got to practice it. Um, and it's a great way to learn. And you get their immediate feedback. You can see if they're bored. You can see if they're looking at their watch, getting distracted. And then you get to hear their thoughts and their improvements and suggestions. Quick note, the WNBA, you can, regardless of gender identity, you can go pitch there. I have done it multiple times. I really enjoyed practicing my pitching there. So definitely check that out, WNBA Pitchorama. I will also share a link to their specific notes. They go into great detail about the types of pitch they want, and like they give a lot of really good pointers about how to present yourself virtually through a Zoom call, like do great lighting, make eye contact with the camera, not yourself on the screen. A lot of stuff that I guess some people don't think about. Me, on the other hand, I mean, look at this. Look at this lighting. No, I'm just kidding. This is how you learn these things, is through Pitchorama, and I learned a lot of great stuff. They make it much more conversational. Even though it's Pitchorama, they really want you to be more ad-libbed, more improvised. You have your script down, memorized, you have it printed out, you have it on your screen, but you allow yourself flexibility because each time you pitch, you're going to hear feedback, and you might implement that feedback next time. So your pitch might be growing and evolving, which is really just a microcosm of what happens at like a festival. You're meeting people, you're talking about your project, you're hearing their thoughts, you're hearing what might have confused them. They might ask a question for clarification, and then you realize, oh, I should explain that next time, or I should say it differently so people get it. Uh, so I will read you my pitch now, and then we'll wrap it up, and then all of these templates will be available for free. You just have to sign up for my newsletter. So if you guys haven't done that yet, how about this? Go sign up there. I'm going to put up my newsletter sign up QR code on the screen right now. I'll also, let's see, another way you can get there is just by going to northportstory.com/audition. That's another way to get to my newsletter, but I'm going to have both of those up on the screen right now. One of the things that I did for my literary pitch is that I used my illustrations, because I actually have great illustrations of each character and the monsters and stuff. I'm not going to do that the exact same way I did it for my pitch, but I would hold these up to the camera and I'd have really nice lighting, and they liked that, and it was something that kept their attention. And so you'll hear, as I'm doing my pitch, I introduce character after character, and when I was doing that, I had my note cards of my different character illustrations done by myself and the amazingly talented Gus Trouth. I had them labeled and in front of me, so it was just easy to pick them up in order and then put them back down. And I was the only one who had visual cues, visual materials to kind of spice up the presentation. Uh, you know, Patting myself on the back here, but I'm saying that because maybe you want to think about what could distinguish you from others. Like if you're in a room full of people pitching their stuff, maybe you show up with your own swag, wearing your book's title on your shirt. Make it easy to remember. Give them things that might last in their memory, you know, visual things that get lodged in there. Make it easier for them to remember the name of your book by showing it to them while you say it. And it also helps to really amp up the enthusiasm. This is a show. Put on a show for them. That's what I took away from my pitch. And so I might be a little rusty here. I have not done this pitch in quite a while. And I'm going to leave some things out because a few things have changed. A few things are different. And I might pause and explain a few things. But so first off, I don't have it written here, but I would always say something like, "Hi, I'm Bodhi Werner. So nice to meet you. Let's get going. High five." And I would put my hand right to the webcam. And for some reason that just like boosted up my confidence. And it was like, instead of starting off kind of timid, I just came out of the gate with like it's virtual. We're not really high fiving, but I wish we were. And, it just like some of them even high fived me back. And so it just started us all smiling. Um, So that's a good way to get into a pitch. Is just, "Hey, I'm Bodhi Werner. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. High five. Let's get into it." So, Northport, 1999. Hometown heroes up against mad scientists and the monsters they create. This 101,000 word sci-fi horror novel is like, and then I'll leave it blank because I don't think it's, I listed a few books, and then the authors' names. A brutal death shakes the small city of Northport, Minnesota. The story, this story of danger, mystery, and intrigue is set in a world of 90s nostalgia and small town charm. Three young adults, Grayson, an introverted orphan, Madeline, a formidable wrestling team captain, and Soren, an innocent scientist, set out to solve the case of their friend's demise. In doing so, they face off with human animal hybrids and the vile men who created them. Bonding along the way, they find clues linking this death to the disappearance of Grayson's parents. Every time I'm saying a new character, I'm bringing up a new card and showing it to the webcam. Some of the characters that will play into Grayson's journey: brave Sheriff Blackwood, the town's single mother matriarch, partners with clever FBI Special Agent Smiley to protect the town from the strange dangers they cannot yet imagine. They're met with cover ups, conspiracies, and espionage. Blackwood's rebellious 12-year-old daughter Luna teams up with the intrepid Mary Catherine from the town's wealthiest family, courageously seeking answers, leading them into peril. Will this placid town on the shore of Lake Superior survive the global forces trying to unlock scientific discoveries with terrible consequences? Can our humble heroes summon the strength to fend off the darkness growing beneath their feet? Northport 1999 channels my love for Stephen King, X-Files, Twin Peaks, and Stranger Things. A little about me: my novel, the pilot episode I wrote based on it, and the season 1 TV show pitch are an official selection to Catalyst and up for awards. I would probably Okay, I can see I can see this is not exactly how I wrote it before. But I wrote a pilot episode screenplay for a separate nonfiction project, which became an official selection to the world's largest TV festival, and I will be up for 6 awards. So you're talking about things that might bring you some attention in the future, accolades, things that might get you some audience or some news, um, any upcoming articles you might be in. Pamela Cedarquist, a writer for the Netflix's Mindhunter, volunteered to advise me on that script after reading it. And I'll be pitching my show to producers and executives at the festival in September, and could also pitch Northport 1999. At the time that I wrote this pitch and was giving it, I did not yet know that I would be selected for my book would also be selected. So I would have written this differently. I would have said my book and the TV show pitch and pilot episode screenplay based on my book are all official selections to the world's largest TV festival, and I'll be pitching it there in October to executives and producers from around the world. A little bit about my platform. A little bit more about me. I founded a production company. I'm an award-winning indie filmmaker, and I recently, the co-founder of the Sundance Film Festival, Serena Catania, interviewed me on her podcast. She said that my novel would make a gripping graphic novel and a great TV series. My platform: I've won X amount of grants for writing this book, including a National Endowment for the Arts grant to complete the second novel. Wow. I have a growing social media audience, and then I list a whole bunch of analytics numbers. I'm going to be on multiple podcasts and blogs in the near future. Though I have a complete and professionally edited draft and I'm outlining the next books in the series, I'm open to changes and I love collaborating. I figured they want to hear that because they really, they all want creative input and they all expect it. And anything you say that makes them think you're set and your book is completely done, I've heard from a publisher friend, is a turnoff. And then finally, I sent you an attachment, or I can send you an attachment with some character and creature illustrations made in collaboration with my illustrator. Thank you for your time and consideration. So this was a version of the pitch that was not completely tight and the exact one that I pitched at the time, but that's because it actually changes every single time I pitch it and get feedback. Every single time I adapt it and turn it into a query letter based on somebody's um, requirements, and I hear back feedback. But fortunately, all of this hard work has paid off. I'm now working with an independent publisher and going to publish my novels through them. Yay! Um, this has helped me build this community, including on the Patreon, and Also, every single time that I wrote this pitch or I verbally shared it, it helped me solidify my articulation ability. Unintentionally pause and have trouble articulating right at that moment. Great. But yeah, so that covers pretty much everything. And once this live stream is done, I'm going to take a little bit of time to put up a link in the description on Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon. So you can sign up for my newsletter and get access to the pitch templates. One thing that I realized while I was reading my pitch, it does help to memorize it. And I did basically have my pitch entirely memorized when I was doing the pitchorama. But if you don't have it memorized, try to have it as close to the camera as possible, like right up next to your webcam. Me right now, I've got multiple screens and my camera's over there, but that helps so that you're not constantly, shifting your head and attention away. You want to be giving it to the camera, looking into their eyes as much as possible. Not too much. Don't be creepy. Come on now. So yeah, rehearse. Make sure you hit your time limit, your character limit, your word limit. Less is more. Have it printed out just in case your computer things get messed up. You don't want to only have it there. Preferably have it memorized and, have it down enough that you can adjust on the fly. Yeah. Now, I do want to talk about the merits of choosing not to go through this rigorous, bureaucratic, at times political, daunting, and commercialized process. Going through a traditional publishing process is turning whatever book you want to create into a product and applying it to a market, trying to sell it to people who are going to try to sell it to other people. And they got to sell it to other people. If they like it, they have to know all the things that are going to sell it down the chain and down the chain and down the chain. And you're going to be giving away creative control. They're going to want to change it. They're going to want to feel their creative vibe fulfilled through your project, because who doesn't want to be creative? So if that doesn't sound appealing to you, or if it just doesn't work out because there are way more people submitting books to publishers than will ultimately get published, then you might want to take the leap of being one of the very few that follows through and self-publishes. It is not without merit. And for me, I'm using a unique method of distributing my novels through Patreon, and it's been really a great way of um, creating the community, connecting with you guys, and I love that. And I couldn't be more grateful for my supporters on Patreon. And let me put up a little shout out to these guys while I continue thanking them. Without you guys on Patreon, I wouldn't have been able to do all of this work. You guys have certainly been extremely helpful, and it keeps me inspired all the time. So if you want to check it out, there's a free version on Patreon, patreon.com/Bodhi the Movie Maker. You can also get access to my novel there and a short film based on it, which is exclusively available there. You'll also get a 15% off code for merch, including this hazmat bomber jacket. I can't tell. Can you see? Can there we go. It's a little hard to. Okay. Cool. It's been a lot of information. I'm going to put the links out now. Please let me know if you have any questions. I know I just said a lot of stuff. But the world needs your stories and all this information. Hopefully it helps you tell yours, get them out in the world. And it's a process, pitching and learning how to hone your storytelling ability. It can be antithetical. You write a 100,000 word novel, and then you got to distill that effort into maybe 30 seconds of eye contact and passionate, enthusiastic connection with a human being through a webcam, you know? So that kind of stuff takes practice. And the more you do it, the more you'll be able to do it on the fly and adjust and improvise and ad lib and have that human to human contact, meaningful contact. One of the important things to mention is if you're pitching something to somebody, that is the door opener. It's not the finish line. So you don't want to rush. You don't want to jam all of your expectation and desire and enthusiasm to get your book published into that. No, this is you introducing yourself and piquing their interest, getting them invested, getting them started on the journey that is having a business relationship with you. You want to be somebody that's cool and nice and interesting and fun to talk to. So, it's a multifaceted relationship, but, don't be desperate. Don't try to convince them that your book is amazing if they don't seem interested. Um, if they say, I'm not interested, that's their prerogative. You didn't lose. You checked one more pitch off the book. If you get a rejection letter, good. Hang it on the wall, print it out. Wallpaper your house with all of them because you did that. You made that happen. You had the courage and the confidence to send your manuscript, to write that query letter, to put the hours into it, and to put yourself out there. And sometimes you get a response back that's like, you know, I sent some of my illustrations just as an attachment because one time I verbally pitched to a publisher and they really enjoyed seeing my illustrations. And nowhere did I ever say that my book was a graphic novel. I just happened to have really cool illustrations. And even at the end of my pitch, I just said, I just like to show these because I'm really proud of them and it helps give you an idea of the characters. And then so when they asked me to send them my manuscript, I decided to put a few of those drawings just in there and I explained it. But their assistant, ostensibly, 6 months later, got back to me saying, sorry, we don't do graphic novels. And so, sometimes you didn't really do anything wrong and you're just going to get a rejection letter because they're overworked, they're human, they're fallible. That's life. So just say, thank you. You can let them know that it's not a graphic novel, but don't do it in like a desperate, trying to convince them you're worthy kind of way. It's an interesting thing. You have to detach from the response. And mistakes will happen. And what I guess I'm trying to say is it's not your value. Don't base your value on other people's validation, even the publishers, even the literary agents. Do your work because it matters to you and because you feel like it's the right thing to do with your time and it's what you're passionate about. It's what you love. What could be better for the world than you doing what you feel most called to do? Spending time being in the flow, sharing what you think is the best thing you have to share with the world. So, Dr. Seuss, got like a huge amount of rejections. It's a common story. So, if you want to go that route of the conventional publishing, just figure out how to really be proud of all those rejections. And you might not get a crazy amount. Who knows? You might be the edge case. But either way, love yourself, love your creativity. and keep on keeping on. Keep on writing, keep on creating, doing whatever you're doing. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to put the links to all these templates down below. Love ya. Bye.